Welcome back to Invest Global. Today we're going to be focusing in on the anchor to all of the other assets in the cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin. Now, this is very important to understand that since this market is so new, it is incredibly correlated to Bitcoin since it has the largest adoption and the largest market dominance. Now, technical analysis point of view for today's video, we'll also be looking at a little bit of sentimental factors like the fear and greed index and some things with Glassnode like some other macro indicators. But just to understand what we're going to be talking about in today's video, the reason we have timestamps throughout all of this, we're going to be zooming out here in the beginning, looking at it from the daily time frame. What has the price action been doing? Also, as the video progresses, we'll be zooming in closer and closer into the shorter term time frames so you can get a better understanding of some potential trade setups, what to do in both cases of a breakdown and a break up. Now, all right, I inverse that, a break up and a breakdown. But the main point to understand here is, okay, where are we currently at, right? So if we're just looking at a very basic form of technical analysis, key support and resistance lines, well, we're coming up here to this key level. I think a very key level. See, we got rejected down here. Let's see, when was this? If I move my big head over here, we got rejected down here on January 8th of 2021, so the beginning of this year. I think I was in Kosovo when this happened. I remember kind of that rejection down. Everybody was panicking. Then we saw this massive run up, peaks and valleys, all the way up to those all-time highs of around $64,000. Pretty crazy. And the thing that I talk about all the time on this channel is you really have to look at, okay, what is your entry position? What is your exit position? Because if you only look at, okay, my entry was, I'm entering in here, but I have no exit plan in play. Well, you're essentially just behind the crowd, right? The majority of people, the institutional investors, have a set plan laid out. This is why I talk about my global TA course. It's completely for free. I saw so many people out here in the industry, charging thousands and thousands of dollars for trading courses or technical analysis courses. And I'm like, hey, everybody should have this information. This should be access to anyone around the world. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter your religion. None of these things matter. So I put it out here for free on YouTube. Complete in-depth course. It's called Global TA. The playlist will be down below in the description, linked. It's an 8-part series that I'm basically going through each individual module, how to kind of form a trading strategy, how to understand technical analysis from the very beginning, 0 to 100, all these things. So definitely check that out, save that playlist, because then you'll be able to better understand when I take a look at the markets from a technical analysis standpoint throughout my channel. If you watch Global TA, you'll have a kind of a better map or better framework to understand what I'm talking about in these videos if some of these things confuse you, right? So, for example, throughout this video, like I said, starting out very basic things, support and resistance lines, which again, the fundamentals are honestly the most important things. Michael Jordan practiced bounce passes at every single practice. He practiced the fundamentals. Now, you see guys doing trick shots, dunks, all these different things. But the most important thing is building that kind of base framework, just like when you're looking to build a house, you need a good solid ground to build on top of, right? Before you get all advanced building multiple stories high, right? You need to look at, okay, what's the foundation that we're building these things on top of? And that's your knowledge base on the markets, on charts. And like I was saying, an example of this is kind of further on in this video, I'll be looking a bit more at things like Fibonacci retracements. And that's something a bit more technical, a bit more advanced. But if you watch the course from the beginning to the end, module 1 to module 8, you'll understand this in more detail. So to get back to basics here, as I was saying, we kind of saw this rejection off of these levels here in January, then kind of a push down, but we also saw some key level resistance here, right? So this is another area that we got rejected off of right here on June, and now we're kind of facing up with this again. So this is a very key area in the macro on the daily time frame. And right now it is kind of make or break in my opinion. So we saw it yesterday. Keep in mind, daily time frame, each of these candles represent one individual day, the price action for that day. Again, I talked about this in the Global TA course, but yesterday we kind of saw this big green candle, and just start this off. We kind of pushed above this. Now this is kind of that make or break level, right? So this is where we would want to zoom into the 4 hours. So I like to use daily time frame, 4 hour time frame, hour time frame, then 5 minute time frame. Okay, these are kind of my key time frames I like to look at. But here if we're looking at the 4 hour time frame, we kind of pushed up here. See a bit of a trickle down, but really what we're going to want to look for is a confirmed breakout off of this level. Personally, I'm a little bit more biased towards a breakdown. Now, the reason that I think this is going to be happening is not all based on technical analysis, right? So if we pull out some more indicators here, like the exponential moving averages, we can see we're a bit off chart, right? So this candle was a bit out of place there. We really pushed up there. I think we will see a bit of a correction, at least down to this 20-day moving average. We could see even a further correction down to this 50-day moving average, this orange line here. But this is the case where you want to look at some things, again, beyond technical analysis, which in my opinion would be something like the fear and greed index. Now, with this, I always like to look at this and kind of do the inverse of what's going on, right? So when other people are greedy, I'm a bit more bearish. When other people are fearful, hey, I'm a little bit more bullish, right? In the short term, these things. And this isn't the end all be all. The whole point of my video, How to Do Your Own Research, link down below, every single video that I talk about is going through, okay, all the different forms of analysis in markets, and specifically in the blockchain market or the crypto market. You have on-chain analysis, you have fundamental analysis, technical analysis, and then sentimental analysis. So what's the sentiment in the market? And the beautiful thing about social media, the beautiful thing about the internet is you're able to tell these things a lot better than, hey, when it was just the Wall Street days and the dot-com boom, you had to read news headlines on physical newspapers, right? So it's a bit different now. You can kind of aggregate this information. And the interesting thing about something like the fear and greed index is it does this for you, right? So you can use this as a tool, but don't be the man with a hammer syndrome and just trade purely off one individual thing, right? So beyond that, you also have something like Glassnode. One of the things that I like to look at is the active addresses here. So if we go from basically, let's just go from basically when we started to see this downtrend, right? So if we zoom in here, we can see this consistent move downwards. And you have to understand, okay, this chart is a little bit complicated. Now, if you want to see a deep dive video on how to use Glassnode, this kind of more advanced indicators, let me know down below in the comments or join the Telegram group and we can talk about it a bit more in detail there, because YouTube has randomly been deleting comments, so it's a bit annoying. But you can let me know down below in the comments if you're curious on how to use Glassnode. Essentially, this decreasing trend in active addresses is kind of two-part factors, right? So as active addresses decrease, this could, one, mean that some of these addresses are just, they accumulated and they're holding, right? So they're non-active, right? They're not trading in between. The actual public key is not being used, right? So on the blockchain, you can see all the different public keys moving assets back and forth. If someone is holding for the long term, this will be decreased. Similar is if someone just completely exits out of the market, right? So if they're a non-active address and they've exited out of the market. Now, we can go more in detail with these things, but I just want to help you guys better understand some other indicators you can look at. I will have both a Glassnode link down below and the Fear and Greed Index link down below. Moving back on here to the charts, basically what I want to talk about now is some potential trade setup. So what I would be looking for here is, like I said, okay, so we saw this rejection off here. We've kind of seen a rejection off here. This is that key level that I'm personally looking at. What I would be saying is moving on here to the 1 hour time frame. If we zoom up here, I would be pulling out the Fibonacci retracements, and I'll show you why this level is where I would potentially be doing a short position on. Because I do think we could see a potential, if we see a rejection down, so right, if we see something like this happening, let's just show you this. So let's say we kind of see some movement sideways, we see a push down, then we see a retest on this line, and then a breakdown. Obviously, it's not going to go down in a straight line, but then we see a breakdown. This is the level I'll be targeting, and the reason why is if you pull out this Fibonacci retracement, which again, watch the Global TA series to understand Fibonacci's a little better. So we go swing low to swing high. So let's go right here, pull that out. Okay, so you see confluence, right? So the whole point of technical analysis, at least the way that I break it down in Global TA, there's many different ways of doing it. It's kind of like martial arts, right? So it's not just jujitsu, it's not just boxing, it's not just Muay Thai, it's not just any individual martial arts. It's combining all these things together and kind of forming your own personal trading strategy, right? So that's why I'm not a fan of taking other people's, like exactly copying other people's trading strategies. I'm a fan of you building your own so you know exactly how it works, right? Just like in the UFC, you have to kind of build your own skill sets based off of all these different martial arts and kind of get rid of the bad ones. Like obviously Kung Fu probably didn't make it, right? So in the early days of UFC, you had these kind of alternative martial arts, but it really kind of showed you as you get tested in the market, right? In that case, it's in the ring, what is the best and what's not. So in this case, this would be the short position down to this level, and I'll just show you what that would look like. So this would be from 41,000 down to 36,000. That's about what it would look like. That's about a 13%. And then beyond that, I would be looking for potentially a further position so you could pulse a little bit of profits around that level. And then around here, the 32,000. And worst case scenario, again, if you're using this Fibonacci retracement. Essentially what it would look like is all the way down to this level here. So this is the kind of last level that we have support at. So you can see it got rejected off support there. Basically it bounced off support, bounced off of another support level here. But this is kind of that last level that I'd be looking at, which is just below the 30K level, right around 29,000. Yeah, so that's basically it for this kind of technical analysis outlook. If you're looking for a long position here, what you'd want to look for is, okay, what is, first of all, you'd want to see something like this happening. So let's zoom in again. So instead of this breakdown, you'd want to see something like this happening where we just kind of be moving sideways, a bounce off this levels, then a volume confirmed breakout, and that's where you'd potentially set up your long. And in that case, you would want to look at, you'd want to zoom back out to the 4 hour and look at, okay, where have we seen previous resistance levels here? And in my opinion, that's around this level, right? So that's around the 48K mark. So that's all for this. If you have any questions, any comments, let me know down below. Also in the Telegram group. That's all for this one. Invest Global. And until next time.